It begins, as these things often do, with a whisper, a ghost in the machine. 30 years ago, in the quiet solitude of a routine geological survey, a piece of equipment registered an anomaly, a signal that shouldn't have been there. This metal signal was detected 30 years ago. It was a clear, distinct pulse picked up by a standard-issue magnetometer. The field technician logged it, as per protocol. A blip on a screen, a spike of ink on a rolling chart. An electronic question mark buried beneath the earth, and everyone ignored it. The report was filed, passed up the chain of command, and met with institutional skepticism. In a world of false positives and geological noise, one strange reading in an unremarkable location was not enough to warrant a follow-up. It was an outlier, a data point without context. No secondary team was dispatched. No budget was allocated for excavation. The signal was relegated to a footnote in a dusty archive, a ghost that would haunt the records for 3 decades, unseen and unexamined, a mystery that was never pursued. Until today. Driven by a new initiative to re-examine cold cases from old survey data, we return to the coordinates. Armed with technology unimaginable in 1994, we came to see if the ghost was still there, or if it had simply been a figment of outdated electronics. We initiated the scan, sweeping the ground with a new generation of ground-penetrating radar and high-sensitivity magnetometers. The process was slow, methodical. We were prepared for disappointment, expecting the silence of empty earth. And then it happened. A sudden, sharp, undeniable tone cut through the quiet. The signal was still there. Not a faint echo, not a degraded remnant, but a powerful, resonant pulse, screaming from below the ground. We cross-referenced the signature with the original 1994 data. The match was perfect, 100% identical. The same frequency, the same amplitude, the same distinct digital fingerprint, separated by 30 years of silence. Same frequency, same depth. The reading was locked at precisely 2.7 meters. There was no wavering, no signal drift. It was as if the object hadn't moved a single millimeter in 3 decades. That's not normal. We scanned again, and again, from every angle, with every calibration setting. The result was always the same, an unwavering, monolithic signal. Metal buried in earth is subject to the planet's slow, inexorable churn. Soil shifts, groundwater levels change, and corrosion alters an object's metallic signature. Signals degrade, they drift, they weaken. But this one was static, perfect, unchanged. It was behaving as if the laws of physics and geology simply did not apply. The anomaly was too profound to ignore a second time. The original team had logged a question. We were here to find the answer. So we dug. The earth gave way easily at first. Topsoil, clay, a layer of compacted sediment. Then, at exactly 2.7 meters, the sharp ring of steel on steel. We had made contact, and we hit something. Sealed. Carefully, we cleared the surrounding soil. What emerged from the dirt was not a rough, corroded piece of scrap. It was a surface, smooth, deliberate, and perfectly joined. The object was a compact, featureless slab of an unknown alloy. Its surface was cool to the touch, and impossibly clean. There was no rust, no pitting, no sign of the 30 years it had spent buried in damp earth. But it wasn't corroded. The seams were perfect, joined with a precision that suggested advanced manufacturing. The fasteners holding it together were recessed, untouched by time. We compared it to other metallic debris found in the same soil layer. The contrast was stark. Everything else showed the expected decay. This object, however, was pristine, as if it had been placed here yesterday, which means it wasn't left here by accident. This wasn't a lost tool or a piece of agricultural machinery. The precision, the condition, the placement, it all pointed to a single chilling conclusion. This was deliberate. Furthermore, a wider scan of the area revealed nothing. No associated debris field, no scattered components. Just this single isolated object, buried with purpose. And then, as we documented our findings, something changed. Then the signal changed. For the first time. After 30 years of perfect, unwavering consistency, the pulse began to modulate. The steady tone broke. It was replaced by a sequence of short and long pulses, a rhythmic cadence that was anything but random. It was responding to our presence, to being uncovered. It wasn't noise. It was a pattern, a complex, repeating sequence. It was information, a language we didn't understand, broadcast from an object that shouldn't exist. The mystery was deepening with every passing second. The object was no longer passive. It was active. It was communicating. The decision was made. We had to know what was inside, so we decided to open it. With extreme caution, we began the process of disengaging the fasteners. The mechanism was unfamiliar, but yielded to our tools with a low, protesting creak. The tension in the air was palpable. And that's when we realized our mistake. As the seal broke, a faint hiss escaped, the sound of equalizing pressure. We had assumed we were opening a simple container, a time capsule. We were wrong. Peering into the narrow opening, we saw it. Not the contents, but another barrier. A second layer, dark and non-reflective, perfectly sealed, just like the first. This wasn't a box. It was a nesting doll of engineering. The moment the inner layer was exposed to the air, our equipment went haywire. The patterned signal vanished, replaced by a deafening blast of electronic noise. Alarms blared. Every sensor we had was screaming. We sealed it. Immediately. The fasteners were tightened, the breech was closed, and as quickly as it had started, the interference stopped. The alarms fell silent, the air settled, and in that sudden, heavy quiet, the truth became terrifyingly clear. This wasn't a box. It was containment. It was designed to stay hidden. Every feature, the non-corrosive alloy, the depth of burial, the layered seals, was engineered for one purpose: to keep what was inside, and to keep the outside world out. The signal wasn't a beacon. It was a warning, a status indicator for a system that was still active. So we put it back. We were not equipped to handle this. We were geologists and technicians, not a containment team. The only responsible course of action was to reverse what we had done, to restore the site to the exact condition in which we found it. We buried it again, packing the earth, replacing the layers of soil, removing all trace of our excavation. We were putting the ghost back in the machine. The location has now been classified. Its coordinates have been redacted from all public records. A perimeter has been established, and the site is under permanent, remote surveillance. And the signal went back to normal. The moment the last layer of soil was in place, the steady, rhythmic pulse returned. Unchanged, unwavering, as if we had never been there at all. A silent, patient sentinel, waiting beneath the earth. 30 years ago, it was ignored because it made no sense. Today, we ignored it because it made too much sense. What requires such perfect, permanent, and hidden containment? What kind of warning needs to last for decades, or even centuries? Because some things don't get lost. They aren't misplaced artifacts of a forgotten age, waiting for a lucky treasure hunter. They get buried on purpose. They are locked away, hidden from sight, by people who understood what they were dealing with. People who knew that the safest place for some secrets is beneath our feet. The file on this location is no longer marked ignored. It is now marked restricted. A problem not for our generation to solve, but to monitor. A threat we have been warned about. For 30 years, we failed to listen. Now we know why. Subscribe. Because this isn't the only signal out there.